I start out with the same eatings. Again, ancestral markers tell us our origin, or the origin of all modern humans, of all humans, lie in the Amazon forest. The Amazon forest extends into Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia, and other countries, but we will focus on Peru, perhaps on Chile, Ecuador, and Colombia. You see, they all lie in the Ring of Fire. So we will try to connect, almost literally, these three countries, let's say the Andes and the Amazon forest, with Sulawesi. In fact, it's several places. There are several places with important fossils, 1 million years old, with modern human traits in China, Yangtze, which is connected to this Pacific Ocean, and the current you will see when we show the currents. Is a current that passes by in Australia, Polynesia, Sulawesi, Philippines, Japan, China, and so on. This is Sulawesi, Bada Valley, with this megalithic human figure, with this face that is similar to Eastern Island, and the Chachapoya in Peru, and in other places across the world, but this is already quite distant, because this is Sulawesi, this is Indonesia, Wallacea between Sundaland and Sahul in the Ice Ages. In the Holocene, right now, it is between, let's say, Australia, Indonesia, and Southeast Asia. Anyhow, these figures with the hands, often with long fingers, not particularly the case here, sometimes the nipples, sometimes even breasts, pronounced nose, and then hands around the navel or around the genitals. So you find them on these gyres, the gyres that we discussed in former and in this video. Since I'm on this map, I quickly show it. Chachapoya current takes it to Sulawesi. It can cross here in Holocenes, and it has to cross here in Ice Ages. And in Ice Ages, it has to go up here in the direction of Korea, Japan, Mongolia. And on the other side, so Peru, the Chachapoya is neighboring, is overlooking the Amazon forest with the Amazon River that drains into the Atlantic Ocean, and from the Atlantic Ocean it's picked up in this current and can get as far as the Mediterranean. And for now I will say that you have similar artifacts in the Balkan. Then, especially in the Holocene, but even in the Ice Ages, next to between Bali and Lombok, and there's another place that this high pressure, because this causes a very high pressure, this is a very important current, and this one adds up, it causes very high pressure, and it pushes through at least two straits here, even in the Ice Ages, into the Indian Ocean. So from the Indian Ocean, it can get, for instance, to the Andaman Islands, which in the Ice Ages is part of Sundaland, and it can get further here in this direction, and it can get to Göbekli Tepe, which you have quite strong similarities as well. So I showed you, or I mentioned, similarities with Balkan and with Göbekli Tepe and the Fertile Crescent. So the earliest migrations and mining and industries making use of archaics to mine, etc., We claim it to be in this ring of fire, but on the current, because this current is a comeback current. And this is a go current that gets to Sulawesi, and we will talk about Sulawesi. So here you see that in fact it is about much more volcanoes than for instance in this figure. This is the major active volcanoes. So what I'm announcing is that what you find in Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia, you will also find in Sulawesi and other islands. Cultural patterns, artifacts, teaching galleries where they explain. It's like a kind of dia projection as before. It's like in a cinema. So you find it here, and that's on this current, of course. And it will break through to small straits with heavy currents, and will end up in the Fertile Crescent, amongst others in Carahan Tepe, in Göbekli Tepe, of course in Easter Island, which is a kind of a resting point, just as Hawaii is. It's not just the resting point. I think they use them, Eastern Island and Hawaii, for teaching, because there's teaching material. In this case, it's the Moai, amongst others. There's polygonal walls, just like in Peru. And again, Turkey, amongst many others, because you have it in Montana, you have it in Brazil. So Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, but through the Amazon, also Mediterranean. So it's not excluded that they got to Carahan Tepe and Göbekli Tepe and to other places in the Fertile Crescent through the Mediterranean or to the Black Sea, through the Black Sea. They could even have gone to the Black Sea because of this, following this currents and following the Rhine. And I think it's the Danube, which ends up here. And as I said, the Yangtze goes all the way to Tibet, and connecting with Indian and Pakistani rivers, it gets all the way through to at least to Aral Sea, to the until the Aral Sea. And again, this is connected with some of the most important rivers of the world. This is the Yenisei River. It goes straight to the Altai Mountains, more or less here. Mongolia, China, reaches as far as China. So then the teaching rock, the cinema with the rock paintings, with the instructions, it is not art, it is teachings of megafauna and of capturing like giant sloths. That is in the case of South America. That's possibly the case in North America as well. But as far as I know, giant sloths are not in the rest of the world. But for instance, here in the Philippines, in Luzon, you have this rhinoceros. In Malta, you have, is it a rhinoceros or is it the same animal as in the Nile? It's a dwarf version. There's Neanderthal as well. There's always with Archaics. Archaics, at least 30 in Java, in one spot. It's large numbers. Malta is probably one. You have in Ranis and etc. You have here in the north of Spain pretty large numbers of several archaics. So it's very old, but it's on the route. It's obviously on the route. And so in France, you also have these projection halls. They are so big that they built houses in the cinema, so to speak, in the overhanging cliff. So, but I consider the first cliff is in Peru. It's overlooking the Amazon forest, where the teachings happen about megafauna, including giant sloths, several places, several kill sites, industrial handling, industrial food production. In fact, that's what I wanted to say about Sulawesi. It has the Valley of Jars. You have that in other places. I think you have it in Laos. The Valley of Jars, and that is, anyhow, it's industrial processing or of ores for minerals, for resources, or it should be massive food production for masses of workers, of archaics. It could be mixtured. I think most of them are for handling ores. Anyhow, it also always comes together is the currents, these main currents, especially those that depart from Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, from the Andes in general. They involve mining, archaics, megalithic works, and these returning hands on navel or on genitals, and the faces are bearded or bird-like. For instance, in Eastern Island, you have, of course, the Moi with the bearded faces. Not everyone will see it as bearded faces. Some will interpret it as masks, and it's the same as in the Amazon, in the cinema. So the bearded faces. So in Easter Island, you also have Birdman. You have both. You have the bearded man, and you have Birdman. And the Birdman has more like reptile-like faces, bird-like faces. And you have those also across the world. So you have the hands on the navel or the genitals, all over South America, but all over the world, including in Mongolia. It's also the current, of course. But you also have the beak or reptile-like statues, and you have the guru-like statues. You have them in Peru, and you have them in India, and you have them in Karahan Tepe as well. So they take along the culture, their artifacts. Sometimes it's identical. It's pretty much the same for the pyramids. They have the ziggurats in Peru. Caral is the oldest pyramid, ziggurat-like. When Caral ends is when I think Egypt starts, the other cultures in general start. So that tells us something important as well. So how do you get in Egypt? You can get in Egypt this way, but it's not excluded that they get in Egypt this way. And probably a lot of people will think that Suez is only carved recently, like something like the former century. I'm not sure when. But it was open before. It was also open at the time of the Egypt high times, when Egypt was flourishing.